When I arrive at a lake I've never fished before, I don't start casting randomly and hoping to stumble across the carp. First, I study the depths and try to understand the basic layout of the water. It's easier than it sounds when you follow a simple system, and it can save you hours of searching. I mentally divide most lakes into three main areas: shallow water, mid-depth zones, and deeper water, usually near a dam, drop-off, or basin. The key is remembering that the same spot won't produce equally well throughout the entire season. In early spring, I wouldn't rush to place my rigs in a deep hole near the dam. After winter, carp are usually more interested in the shallows. The sun warms these areas faster, natural food begins to appear, and the fish gradually prepare for spawning. That's why shallow sections are normally the first places I investigate during spring. But depth alone won't tell you where the carp are. Another factor can change their location in only a few days, and that factor is wind. Many anglers pay attention to air temperature but almost completely ignore wind direction. That can be a major mistake. A warm south wind is especially valuable in spring because it moves and mixes the upper layers of water, changing the temperature and often drawing carp into the warmer areas. You may find a promising shallow flat and assume the search is over, but don't commit too quickly. Conditions on a lake can change much faster than most anglers expect. If a cold north wind blows for several days, the shallows can cool down considerably. Carp may then move toward water that is less exposed to that cold flow. In these conditions, I pay close attention to the north side of the lake, especially sheltered pockets protected from the wind. Beaches can also provide a useful clue. They are often located on shallow areas that receive plenty of sunlight while remaining protected from cold northern winds. In spring, a warm, sheltered flat like that can become one of the most attractive feeding areas for carp. In summer, this simple pattern becomes less predictable. Carp move actively through warm water and can appear almost anywhere in the lake, so I usually begin my search at mid-depth. If possible, I choose a narrower section of the lake. It's easier to cover that area with bait and increase the chance that a passing carp will discover my swim. Instead of searching an entire lake, I focus on a natural bottleneck where the fish are easier to intercept. By the way, if you enjoy videos where I explain not only where to cast but also why I choose a particular spot, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And let me know in the comments what city you're watching from. I'm always curious to see where our fishing community is coming together. As fall approaches, I gradually move my search toward deeper water, but I don't cast directly into the deepest hole. I'm usually more interested in the transition between mid-depth water and the deepest section of the lake. Many anglers find the maximum depth and assume the carp must be feeding there. The fish may certainly be present, but there's an important difference between where carp rest and where they actively search for food. That's why I carefully examine the bottom structure, especially sharp depth changes and drop-offs. Anglers often call these features carp highways because natural food collects along them, giving carp an easy route to follow while feeding. A productive drop-off can produce far more bites than the deepest, most promising-looking hole. Carp remember these feeding routes and return to them regularly. But finding a drop-off is only half the job. The next step is identifying the exact section where your rig should be placed. Here's the simplest way to remember my seasonal approach. In spring, I check the shallows first, in summer, I begin at mid-depth, and in fall, I gradually move deeper. But during fall, I'm not necessarily looking for the bottom of the deepest hole. I'm more interested in the transition between average and maximum depth, the slope leading out of deeper water. Just a few yards can make a huge difference, so I study that transition carefully. Once I find the right depth, I start examining the bottom. I normally look for a firm area and begin fishing there. However, if I've baited the swim, waited long enough, and can see carp nearby but still get no bites, I won't sit in the same spot all day. That's when I test the surrounding silt. Many anglers avoid silty bottoms, but silt itself doesn't make a spot unproductive. Carp often feed in it, digging for bloodworms and other natural food. The real question is what kind of silt you're dealing with. I use a simple test. I cast my rig with the hook bait into the selected area, leave it there for about 20 minutes, then reel it in and check the smell. If the bait has absorbed a strong, unpleasant odor, I search for a cleaner patch nearby or adjust the rig so the bait sits slightly above the bottom. But healthy silt containing natural food can be far more productive than a perfectly clean, firm area. I once baited what looked like an ideal hard-bottom spot while carp repeatedly rolled about 10 yards away. I expected them to move on to my bait, but they never did. Eventually, I placed my rig exactly where the fish had been showing. When I reeled in, the sinker was covered with silt and bloodworms. The carp had already found a rich natural feeding area, so they had no reason to move 10 yards from my bait. As soon as I began fishing directly over that patch, the bite started. That's why I always say, don't become attached to the first spot you choose simply because the bottom feels firm and clean. If you've waited a long time without a bite while carp are clearly active nearby, start searching again. Just a few yards away, there may be a silty patch full of natural food that is far more attractive to the fish than your baited swim. Even better is the boundary where firm bottom changes into soft silt. I always investigate these transition areas because they can provide the perfect place to position a rig. The basic seasonal pattern is easy to remember. Start with shallow water in spring, explore mid-depth areas during summer, and gradually move toward deeper water as fall approaches. But don't automatically cast into the deepest part of the lake. The slope leading out of that hole may be much more productive. Once you've identified the correct depth for the season, look for drop-offs, firm patches, silt, and especially the boundaries between different bottom types. The deepest hole isn't always the best fishing spot. Over the years, leaves, dead vegetation, debris, and other organic material can collect in the lowest area, creating foul-smelling silt that I prefer to avoid. I'm usually more interested in the edges and exits of the hole, particularly a well-defined drop-off. I think of a drop-off as an underwater highway. Carp travel along it, search for natural food, and return to it regularly. If I find a good depth change with suitable bottom conditions, it becomes one of the first places I test. A small, level patch of firm bottom can also be a good starting point. But if you bait it, give it enough time, and still get no response, don't be afraid to move your rig. Check the nearby silt or try to locate the exact line where firm bottom becomes soft. Sometimes shifting the rig only a few yards can bring a completely lifeless session to life. Never become locked onto one spot. The carp will tell you through their activity and their bites whether you've chosen correctly. To quickly summarize everything we covered today, the system is fairly simple. In spring, start with shallow areas that warm up quickly. During summer, check the mid-depth zones, and as fall approaches, gradually move toward deeper water and the slopes leading out of the holes. Always pay attention to wind direction because it can significantly change where the carp are holding. Next, study the bottom. Look for drop-offs, firm patches, healthy silt, and especially the transitions between different bottom types. Once you find a promising spot, bait it carefully, keep the carp feeding in the area, and begin fishing. You don't need to search the entire lake at once. Start with the season and depth, then consider the wind, bottom contours, and bottom composition. Only after that should you choose the exact location for your rig. I hope this makes it easier to arrive at an unfamiliar lake and know where to begin. Thanks to everyone who watched until the end. Hopefully, my experience will help you avoid wasting half your session on empty spots and find the areas where carp are actually feeding much faster. I wish you great fishing, confident bites, and some impressive catches. See you in the next video.